Right, hi there guys, how are you today, and welcome to my F1 2018 season predictions. And instead of making predictions myself like I did last year when I said McLaren would be on the podium, that didn't go too well, I am going to ask Twitter. I have asked Twitter even, and here I'm going to talk about the responses I got. So, Laurie, and I will leave all the links in the description, but Laurie has predicted a few things. He said that the Force India will get a podium, and I disagree with that, to be honest. I'm sorry to say, I wish they would. Again, but I know in the second year of regulation, the top few teams are always able to put away as they've got more used to it, and I don't think Force India are going to be any higher this season. Interestingly, Laurie also says that Hamilton won't be the World Drivers' Champion in 2018. Like, I mean, I don't know, I guess it's hard to tell, really. That's the fun thing about this video. Testing hasn't happened, cars haven't been launched yet, how do we know? But yeah, he reckons Hamilton won't be the World Drivers' Champion. So the question is, who do you think it will be? If it's not going to be Lewis Hamilton. And he also says that McLaren will finish 4th in the Constructors. And with that, he says that in general, Force India v Renault v McLaren is going to be exciting. And I agree with that. I think it could be, but I think Force India, I'm not going to say they'll struggle, but I think they might find other teams catching up and the top teams putting away from them this season, sadly, and I think they might only come in 6th place. Now, Nicole says that Lewis Hamilton will be the World Drivers' Championship, so World Drivers' Champion, so bit of controversy there between Laurie and Nicole. And yeah, I guess he has to be considered one of the favourites. It sounds like he's had a tough winter with all this whole Dressgate stuff, but that doesn't really matter, does it? It's no excuse, that's for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how he does. And then he also says that Sauber, who of course now got a connection to Alfa Romeo, with Eric, will improve. Although my concern about that is that Ericsson is still gonna be there. And well, I think on my channel I have talked about Ericsson quite a bit, as we know, and yeah, he's not good, is he, Marcus Ericsson? So I think that could hold him back, but I guess we'll have to wait and see with that one. But they do have Charles Leclerc, so you never know. Be interesting to see how he does in the Alfa Romeo Sauber. I guess that is the thing to look forward to, one of the things to look forward to. And then he also says, talking of Leclerc actually, he reckons that Nicole reckons that Kimi Räikkönen will end up retiring and Charles Leclerc will get the seat. We know that Leclerc is a Ferrari young driver, so it's fairly feasible, although Kvyat is the official reserve driver for Ferrari these days, amazingly. So I guess we have to see how that one goes, but I would personally like to see Kimi himself be more competitive in the 2018 Formula 1 season. And Nicole's actually left me his predictions for the constructors, so I'll go through it. He thinks the order will be Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Renault, Force India, Sauber Alfa Romeo, Haas, Williams, and Toro Rosso, who of course have the Honda engine in 2018. So yeah, now let's move on. Next it's Robbie, also a YouTuber. He reckons that Esteban Ocon will get a podium, and again, Ocon is a great driver, and I want Force India to do well. But I'm not so confident for them in the 2018 season. I think the other teams will be able to find more time this year. That's my opinion. And he reckons there's going to be a 3-way fight for the constructors. I think that's possible. There could be, theoretically, there could be a 5-way fight if you include Renault and McLaren. But I don't think that would materialise. But he reckons that you have Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari all fighting for the constructors. And that sounds exciting, but we said this last year after Red Bull and Ferrari were quite strong at the end of 2016 and never really materialised. So I'm hopeful for a 3-way fight for the constructors, which could mean a 6-way fight for the drivers, but I wouldn't put any money on it, that is for sure. He also says that Kimi is going to win a race and fight for the championship. That would be great, but will Ferrari allow that? Especially if they're really fighting for the championship? I'm not so sure. Now let's move on. Kyle Milner, KTM Milner, as he's also known, says that Verstappen is going to retire from more races than Fernando Alonso. I guess that is possible. It depends how the Renault engine does. I guess they're gonna have the same engines, aren't they? So I'm not really sure what to say there. I guess that's just luck, isn't it? I don't really know how I can give an opinion on that. Although maybe Verstappen is more prone to crashes, so you could say that. Carl Milner says Hamilton will be world champion for the 5th time, and he reckons that Kvyat is going to end up in the Ferrari driver's seat, replacing Kimi Raikkonen, I assume. I mean, that's probably a bit optimistic, but it would be a good story. But, you know, Kvyat, he's not good, is he? What on earth he's doing in the Ferrari test drive role, I have no idea. That's my opinion. Moving on now to Josh, also known as the Moaning Yorkshireman. He reckons that Lewis Hamilton will win the championship, the blessed one, of course. He reckons that the Force Indias will be crashing again. That's possible. Perez and Ocon. Will their rivalry be renewed? Of course, they sort of calmed down at the end of last season, but now there's more to fight for again. They could do, and it could be interesting to see how Force India deal with that. Personally, I hate it when there's team orders, but we'll have to see. And he says that Sauber Alfa Romeo will still be lost. And maybe with Marcus Ericsson, he has a point. Moving on now to Carlos Melez. He says that Verstappen won't win a race. Personally, I think he will, and I reckon they could be in the fight for the championship. I think it could be a Mercedes versus Red Bull season. I think Ferrari might fall back again. That would be my prediction. And I reckon Verstappen's going to be in the fight for the championship, and it could be a Hamilton v Verstappen season, with Ricciardo a rank outsider. So I reckon Verstappen will win races, so sorry there. He says Alonso will finally be happy with the engine. I guess so. I'm sure the Renault would improve yet again. But we know the Renault does have reliability issues, I can certainly imagine that the Australian Grand Prix, the Renault failing Fernando Alonso, that would just be the ultimate irony. And he says there'll be many failures for the Toro Rosso team. And with the Honda engine, I wouldn't be too surprised. Moving on now to Jamie183. He reckons that Verstappen will get the title. I would say that is possible. I would personally predict Hamilton to get it again, but I reckon his main rival this year will be Max Verstappen. He also says that Hülkenberg will get a podium, and I guess Renault will be more in the fight for podiums this year, but I think it's going to take a crazy race for guys like in the Renault and McLaren or the Force India to be on the podium at all. And he also says that McLaren will still be awful, maybe 5th place in constructors at best. So he also gave me some predictions for the results of the constructors, so I'll read them to you. He goes Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, Renault, Force India, McLaren, Haas, Toro Rosso, Williams, and Alfa Romeo Sauber. I would say that's probably not too far off, actually. Be interesting to see if that materializes. And then who else there? Adam Joe says Williams will only come 9th, so that's agreeing with Jamie183, interestingly. And yeah, I think Williams are going to fall back again. I think they got a pretty crappy lineup in Lance Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin, but I guess we have to see how they do. Of course, Stroll in his 2nd season and Sirotkin in his first proper season in F1. Be interesting to see how he does, but you know, paid drivers, it never ends well, does it? Apart from Maldonado winning 1 race. And he also says Ocon will get a podium again. I don't think Force India are going to be on the podium this year at all. I hope they will, but I don't think so. And he says that Lewis Hamilton is going to win the title. Then Lee has popped up with constructor predictions. So let's read this to you. Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Renault, Force India, Haas, Sauber, Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Toro Rosso. So slightly different to some of the other guys, but not too different. He seems to agree with me that Force India are going to fall back a bit, as well as Williams. And nobody on here seems too confident for Toro Rosso, that is for sure. And then finally, another top 10 prediction. It's from JWF197 on Twitter. So he says Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Force India, Renault, Williams, Sauber, Alfa Romeo, Toro Rosso, and Haas, interestingly, for 10th place. So yeah, guys, those are all the predictions I got on Twitter. Please tell me your predictions in the comments below. Be interesting to hear them. I'll tell you what I think. And make sure you follow me on Twitter at bgaming342 for more I Ask Twitter questions. And I shall see you guys next time.